I did not fall in love with a finished masterpiece. I fell in love with a man mid-reconstruction. The first time I stepped inside your world, I felt it immediately, the quiet echo of unfinished work. There were caution signs around your heart, yellow tape fluttering in emotional wind, wet cement where trust had just been poured, exposed. Wiring where anger used to spark without warning. Old blueprints still taped to the walls, plans drawn by fear, survival, and past disappointments. You weren't broken, you were rebuilding, and rebuilding is not pretty. You were trying, I could see that, but trying does not always look beautiful. Sometimes it looked like silence when I needed reassurance. I would ask a question and you would retreat inward, like someone checking structural beams before answering. Sometimes it looked like distance when I needed closeness, you stepping back just when I reached forward. Sometimes it looked like effort that arrived 5 minutes too late, the apology after the damage, the flowers after the storm. I had to learn the difference between malice and muscle memory. You were breaking patterns I did not create, fighting ghosts I did not invite, undoing habits that once protected you but now isolated you. You were unlearning a version of manhood that taught you emotions were weaknesses and vulnerability was a liability. Healing is messy. It trembles in its first steps. It backslides when it's triggered. It forgets its promises, then remembers them again at midnight. There were nights you went quiet, not because you didn't care, but because caring felt unfamiliar. There were moments you hesitated before saying I need you, as if the words themselves required courage. And loving you in that season required a different kind of strength, not the dramatic movie scene kind, the steady kind, the kind that sits at the kitchen table and asks softly, is this grace? Or am I teaching him that I will tolerate anything? That question saved me, because forgiving love does not mean abandoning wisdom. There is a thin line between patience and self-betrayal. Between supporting someone's growth and shrinking yourself so they feel comfortable. I refused to disappear in the name of compassion, so I learned balance. I learned to cheer for your progress without excusing your pauses. I learned to speak truth without shaming your scars. I learned to say, I understand why you react this way, but I will not absorb it, and something shifted. You began pausing before reacting. You began listening longer. Your apologies changed shape. They stopped sounding like defense and started sounding like ownership. I see it now. I was wrong. I don't want to repeat that. Those words were not grand gestures. They were bricks. And trust does not rebuild in leaps, it rebuilds in inches. Slow motion, brick by careful brick. People outside of us were confused. You still with him? He doesn't look that different. Are you sure he's changed? But transformation rarely announces itself with fireworks. Sometimes it shows up as restraint, as humility, as a man who used to raise his voice, choosing instead to lower it. As someone who once shut down, choosing instead to stay in the conversation. You did not look the same to me. You moved differently. You responded differently. You held eye contact longer. You softened faster. That's how I knew. This was healing, not pretending. Loving someone through their healing is not a romantic fantasy. It is not soft focus and background music. It is standing close enough to witness the change without standing so close that you become the crutch. It is saying, I believe in who you are becoming, but I also require who you are right now to treat me with care. And somewhere between grace and boundaries, we found something steadier than butterflies. Butterflies flutter, maturity. Roots, we stopped chasing sparks and started building safety. We stopped reacting and started responding. We stopped proving love and started practicing it. And this time, love didn't rush. It did not sweep us off our feet. It did not drown us in intensity. It rebuilt, and the sound of rebuilding, of effort, of ownership, of growth became more romantic than any grand gesture ever could. Because this time we weren't falling, we were constructing something that could hold weight.